Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this February the 21st version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Don't forget, we're on Roku.
Yeah, on Roku.
Yep.
First Monday, second Monday. First Monday, but second Monday.
Man, it feels like a Monday.
It does.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
We were in Seattle. I was in Seattle last part of the week for a Rotary.
Yeah, I was going to say, good thing they gave you a free shirt because you
No,
didn't have time.
They didn't give me a free. I had to buy it. Yeah, and it wasn't cheap, but it was. No, I'm the president of La Grande Rotary this coming year, actually starting in the middle of the year, and they have this training, and I'm totally convinced. So in our club, there's a lot of older folks in the club, just like a lot of clubs, and so, but everybody in there has been president. If they've been in there at all for any length of time, they've been president at one time or another. Okay, Well, so then once you're president-elect, you have to go to this training, which is called president-elect training, it's a 3-day thing. It's very intense. I mean, 2 days of training from 8 in the morning until 9 at night. And there's some social activities and stuff in there too. But I'm totally convinced that is the Rotary plan. The Rotary plan is just intense, one person initiation at a time over a period of years. So pretty soon you have a whole bunch of ex-presidents, but they've all been through the training. Yeah, but it's there's kind of like some indoctrination in there. It's because Rotary is an international thing, and it's really good, but it was an intense time.
One of the popular things on TikTok now is so somebody will go live, and behind them will be an argument, right? So
an argument going on?
No, okay. Behind them will be like words, like this particular one said, Biden in 2024.
Okay.
Prove me wrong.
Okay.
And what they'll do is they'll bring people on to the live with them, and they'll have an argument of why Biden's going to be president in 24 or not. Well, Biden went to Ukraine, right? Like this couple of days ago, and I was watching this one last night. Yeah. And the guy was pro Biden 2024, and some guy came on there and said Biden didn't even know he was in Ukraine.
He didn't really? No,
I mean
I see that was one of the comments.
He said Biden woke up and was in Ukraine. He thought he was in the White House.
It was pretty intense. I mean, I've been away from the news for over the weekend, so I didn't follow it too much. But he's walking down one of the streets with the president of Ukraine, and the sirens are going off. It's like,
what are you doing there, dude?
Yeah.
Well, scary.
Yeah.
But I'm not either. I'm nor pro Biden or pro Trump. I don't care, really. I just thought it was funny. I think the jokes about both of them are funny, man. So funny. Yeah. I also like watching roasts on TV. You know what roasts are, right? Yeah. And they said they always talk about Trump, man. He actually went to a roast. He's been a part of roast. He's gotten roasted too.
I know, and that I like those roasts too.
So funny.
They're funny, and the guy that they're roasting is always there.
And it's so sometimes they push it, like the Pete Davidson one. His dad died in the building on 9/11, and people just jabbing about it. Like, it's like roasts are fun.
Yeah,
roasts are fun.
Oh, you ready to do sports?
We should do a roast here sometime.
That would be fun.
We just have to find people that are witty and funny enough to do it.
That's the problem.
Yeah, because these guys are they always have like two professionals, and then a bunch of comedians, and then I'm sure somebody's writing Martha Stewart's and like the people that aren't comedians, they already have the punchlines and the jokes already written.
Yeah, because comedy, when it's not done well,
it's terrible.
It's
the worst.
It's the worst.
Let's do sports.
All right.
EOU men's basketball swept this weekend in Washington. They're the number 2 seed going into the CCC tournament. First game's tonight at Quinn, 7:30. Get up there and support the Mounties. Philip Malatar scored his 1,000th point on the road this weekend and was also named TCC Player of the Week for the second time this year. EOU women's basketball also swept this weekend. They go into the conference tournament as the #1 seed. They play tomorrow night at 5:30 up at Quinn. Get up there and support them. EOU men's wrestling was kind of a disappointing finish. I mean, a lot of people thought they should win the CCC this year. They finished second, which, I mean, it's not terrible. They had 2 individual champions in Hunter Sparks and Marco Rotano. I mean, Hunter Sparks dropped down to 125, and he might win a national title, the first one ever for EOU this year, which would be really cool. LeGrand boys wrestling, Pendleton this weekend, the Special District 4 conference tournament. We placed second. Crook County won that. We had 17 kids qualify for state, and we had 7 individual winners at different weight classes. LeGrand girls basketball got second in the GOL conference behind Baker. Boys basketball got third. They lost to Pendleton on the road. Pendleton and Baker played, and Baker won. Baker won the GOL in both boys and girls. We're still waiting to hear about playoffs. I mean, it's going to come. And then the big event this week outside of the basketball games is this weekend at EOU. The women's wrestling team is hosting the Cascade Collegiate Conference tournament, which is going to be awesome. I mean, college women's wrestling, it's the fastest growing sport in America. And we're fortunate enough to have, you know, an NAIA conference tournament right here in LeGrand. So get up there and support these ladies. We have a couple girls that are in the top 5 in the country that are really good wrestlers. That's about all I got for
That's
you
cool.
today, BC.
And, man, they are, you don't know why I would expect anything less, but the lady wrestlers are super intense. I mean, it's
oh yeah, they don't play. I rode the bus with them to Primeville. Like I was with both the men's and the women's.
Yeah,
and they're just as. I mean, there ain't no difference.
No, I know it
go
is.
time.
I don't know why I'm surprised, but it just is. Yeah, that's.
I mean, you aren't gonna see boys like braiding each other's hair on the bus.
No, I know you had a
when it's
picture
go
of that.
time, it's go time.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
They don't play.
Yeah. No. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so that when again is that?
That's this weekend.
This
Friday
weekend?
and Saturday up at EOU.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Sounds cool. Well, let's look outside here. It's kind of a crisp little morning out there. Let's see what Gabe has.
Looks like winter.
Yeah.
The European model shows more moisture and sun breaks heading into your Tuesday, leading to that grapple mixing with those rain and snow showers with the most amount of moisture during the day. Heading into today on Tuesday for LeGrand, it looks like this will start out into the low to mid 30s at the 8 o'clock hour. You'll notice plenty of sun breaks mixing in with some isolated light snow showers, beginning with a breezy northwesterly wind flow gusting up to 45 miles per hour in spots before those winds gradually back off during the day, turning to the southwest by the evening. Once you get towards midday, you'll notice more of that widespread showery activity as those highs reach the low 40s. That will be the trend off and on throughout the day before that moisture becomes more isolated into the evening, but anything that follows by that point would be sticking snow. That 7-day forecast sponsored by Valley Insurance shows those early morning numbers for your Tuesday, mixing in with the 20s and 30s, afternoon highs 30s and 40s. You could see a dusting of snow before you hit midnight down to the lowest elevations of eastern Oregon, including Pendleton and Ontario, but better chance for some areas to see upwards of an inch or two across our mountainous valleys, but widespread accumulations would stay up into the mountains, expecting 2 to 4 inches out towards Meacham. Anything that falls Wednesday into Thursday would be sticking snow for all of us, although that moisture will be more scattered, meaning not everybody will see the same amount of snow. Although Thursday, I think, will be the best chance for more of that snowfall, but snow totals over the next few days would be a dusting of 6 inches across any one of our valleys, 4 to 10 up towards the mountain pass, with upwards of 10 to 20 until our higher elevations of our mountains before we dry out, becoming sunnier. The back half of the week. Most of us topping out highs into the 20s and 30s with overnight lows into the single digits in teens, although Meacham could even be colder with Ontario being a bit warmer, but that is well below average for this time of year. Then we see a pretty quick warm up into the weekend as those temperatures near average once again. Lots of sunshine to start out before we see another system move in late Sunday into Monday. That's our next chance for snow.
Here we go.
Let's get to these comments real quick. Good morning, Mayor Rock. I'm not calling you that. No, I'm just gonna. Good morning, JB. I will call you that actually. Good morning, TJ, and good morning, Todd. And then Nick. Nick says, "How about the new pipeline from Central Oregon to the football team in Eastern?" I have no idea what he's talking about. I haven't heard anything about it. Maybe worded different, or I don't know. Nick, you're going to have to explain that to me because, but I do know EOU football can use all the help they can get. So if there's a pipeline from Central Oregon,
that's good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, good. Well, this morning we have Randy McKinnis from REMAX Real Estate Team, Dream Team, downtown. Is going to be here with us in just a minute. We'll be right back. All right, we're back with Randy McKinnis. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
And it's always a little bit of a jungle, isn't it?
It is. You know, we were just talking a minute ago. Yesterday sort of seemed like a Sunday. We normally are open on Monday, and at the last minute we decided to be closed, so it kind of threw off my schedule for this week. So it feels like a second Monday to me.
Boy, it does too. To me too. It's like we didn't get home until, I don't know, 7:00 last night, and yeah, the rhythm, everything's out of rhythm.
Tuesday's always second Monday.
Yeah, it's because Monday's a sleep-in day for you, man.
Tuesdays are I dread them. Just because I'm not a morning person, so these morning shows are like my Achilles heel.
I see.
Yeah, there have been times we've talked about doing a show like every morning at 8 a.m.
No.
And kind of like,
And he's like, no,
no, I'm sorry. I
You're
was
gonna
doing it
change that
yourself.
to like
That's not me.
o'clocker.
Oh, well, Randy, thanks a bunch for being here, man.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I always enjoy coming to see you guys.
Yeah,
Honestly,
really appreciate it. And let me, we recorded a little video the other day, and I'll play that, and we'll kind of reflect about that here in a second.
Okay.
Your business, what's the address again?
The address is 1214 and a half Adams Avenue, Brent.
Okay, yeah.
Downtown LeGrand.
And you guys, I mean, you could have moved anywhere, but you chose to be, why downtown LeGrand?
You know, at the time we just wanted to get out of that bigger building.
Yeah.
And so we found this one downtown, and it's turned out to be a great decision for us. We really like being downtown where we can walk to the restaurants and just kind of be part of the downtown in general.
Yeah. So how did you get into the real estate business?
Oh, geez, man. So I was working for a helicopter company, and this is like a long time, almost 28 years ago, almost 30 years ago, actually. So I was working for a helicopter company, and the guy decided to close the business. And one of the guys my mom worked with at Boise Cascade was just opening a new real estate office, and he just approached me and said, "You ever think about real estate?" And I said, "No." But anyway, so then he convinced me that maybe I ought to give it a shot, and I took all of the classes, and at that time none of them were online, but
Yeah.
I took all the classes, got licensed. That was with ERA Driggers and Associates, and that was in 1995.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's how I got started.
So, and how was that? I mean, because a lot of real estate is knowing people, building relationships with folks,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I knew a lot of people because I grew up around here, so
Right.
that helped.
Yeah.
But honestly, in the first year, I think I went 6 months and all I sold was one lot, and it was a $30,000 lot. I was pretty sure I made the wrong choice, but
Yeah.
we just kind of kept with it and worked out okay.
Cool. And what do you like about it now? I mean, you've been doing it a long time. What do you
It's
what
still-
gets your jollies going? What's like,
It's
that's
still
fun.
it's still all about the people.
Yeah.
There are people that came to me to buy or sell a house that have turned into my best friends, and I think that's part of it. There's always those people that you just really become attached to.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is.
Good.
The numbers and the houses, they all kind of come and go, but the people are what we're really about.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just love doing that.
So, and what is your role here? I mean, we've talked about this before. You're the sole male.
I am.
Yeah.
My role here is to not say anything. That's what my role is. No, so I'm the business manager, so I take care of all the bills and paying everybody and all that kind of stuff. Shauna reviews all of the real estate files, and so we kind of split the duties that way.
All right.
And like I said, I sit in the back, and so people see me last.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thanks a bunch, Randy.
You bet.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Brent.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All righty. So your job is kind of well defined. Did they ever your quietness, do they ever hey, Randy, we got this. You can, I don't know. sometimes Tanya will give me a lot of information and I'll have to say, honey, I got this part. I got this, and so, but I'm wondering with all of those ladies, are there times where they hey, Randy, we got this, or do you just know by now?
I just know.
You just know.
Yeah. I try to just know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The truth is, I'm the one in the office that makes the most noise. That's what's amazing to me.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Usually. The rest of them, they're busy and they're quiet, and I'm the disruptive one wandering around bothering people.
Wow. Well, and we talked about this a little bit the other day. You have such a great group of people there. I mean, I know you and Shauna feel really fortunate about, and it's one of the reasons you guys have done the partnership with us here.
Yeah. Yes. True. That entire group, they call themselves the dream team. Well, and they include me. but but the truth is they're amazing. They really are amazing. And I wouldn't trade that group for, a million others. Honestly, they do such a great job. Everyone gets along. They have made this, they've made it much more fun than it really could be. So yeah, I just think the world of those ladies there, and I would do anything for them.
So there's a lot of information that comes into people when they're trying to buy houses and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has an opinion about the market, about whatever's going on. What are some of the things that you advise people not to listen to?
Well, you're right. It seems like our business is one of those things that everyone seems to like to talk about.
Right.
But they all seem to think they know something about it. Everyone can kind of be a real estate expert. And so there's lots of things. Probably the first one, and not that it matters whether you watch, News A or News B or News C,
Mm-hmm.
but the truth is, don't pay attention to much of the real estate information on the news.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, it's national, and so it doesn't necessarily
reflect here. Yeah.
Reflect in LeGrand. LeGrand's market has always been considerably different, but usually it's sensationalized. And what it does is it either scares you or it makes you over optimistic when maybe you need to be careful. But either way, leave the news alone. So that one for one. This was kind of a touchy one.
Okay.
You mentioned this a minute ago about people that you listen to and things like that. But family and friends, and especially if you're a young buyer, and I'm sure I probably did the same thing,
right?
As a dad.
Yeah.
So parents tend to try to want to help their kids buy a house, but parents a lot of times become overprotective.
Okay.
So everything these young kids are excited about, and they think, oh, geez, I want to bring my parents. And then the parents show up and the dad walks through and all he does is point out everything he sees that's wrong with it.
Right.
And, what he's doing is trying to protect his kids from a bad choice.
Okay.
But the truth of the matter is what happens is it scares the kids.
Yeah.
So suddenly they don't want to buy that house anymore. And it probably was a really good choice. And the agent that helped them make the offer on that house is always looking out for their best interests. And if they're not, then they need to find a different agent.
Yeah.
But the agent's looking out for their interest in a way that protects them more than a parent that's just pointing out all the things that are wrong.
Okay.
So, they're advising them with inspections and what to look for and what to ignore and some of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So as much as you want to have a lot to say about your kids buying a house, be careful and don't scare them to death. So
sometimes it's a really good thing long-term for them to invest and jump in. And maybe they'll be like, no, this is too scary. We're not even going to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's what happens a lot.
Yeah.
And the truth is there's never a perfect option.
Right.
And I think the worst option is doing nothing. And what happens is a lot of times those young buyers wind up doing nothing.
Right.
Because they're now afraid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that one is probably one of the bigger ones. Maybe following interest rates too closely, especially right now.
Right. Yeah.
Keep an eye on them. Stay in touch with your lender. Your lender will, they kind of tend to protect you that way. So they'll give you a quote, on an interest rate and stuff like that. But you can bet that if that rate goes down, they're going to be calling you.
Right.
And they'll say, hey, this went down. Keep looking.
Right.
Sometimes what happens is people get paralyzed by that. So they think that they sit and they wait and, they're waiting for that rate to drop 1 more 1/4%.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, the houses that they probably could buy are being bought by somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit like waiting for the airline ticket prices to go down.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, You got to get to the destination, and you're just going to jump, and you're going to,
yeah. And so make a reasonable choice, but don't overthink that.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of them too.
So is the market going to crash? Should people wait for that?
No, I hope not.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to have a living here for another few years, but
yeah,
honestly, in LeGrand, I don't see any sign of that right now. And I don't think nationally it is. It might drop a little bit. You always have those people, and I see them all the time. That will they'll tell me, oh yeah, we quit looking for the house. We're just going to wait it out until the market crashes. And most of them remember back to 2007, 2008 when it really did do that.
Right.
But I'm not seeing that. It was caused by a different thing then. Right. It was a financial thing then. But there was lots of inventory at that point, and it crashed anyway. Now there's just not many houses to look at, and I'm seeing that this spring is really starting to kick into gear again.
Wow.
So I just don't think so. There's some places maybe like the San Francisco area that became so incredibly overinflated that they may drop some.
Right.
But they're just not going to drop that much.
Yeah. Boise, I hear, I mean, are they kind of like that? Or prices, it's hard to get into a home, people who are moving to Boise.
Yeah. Boise is one of those odd places where its growth pattern is big.
Mm-hmm.
They grow a lot, but they also have lots of expansion room,
mm-hmm.
and they have lots of new home construction going on in Boise. So they tend to almost keep up with the demand more than a lot of places.
Huh.
So when the market slows down, people kind of panic over those rates, so it stops for a while. Yeah. Then Boise will catch up, and their inventory will catch up quicker.
Yeah. So
yeah, you might see it drop a little bit there, but still, it's not. it might, even if it's 10%.
Yeah.
It's not going to crash like people sometimes think it will.
Well, and we've talked before about how that, even though interest rates are high compared to where they were, they're not high compared historically. I mean, I bought a house from you and Shauna. It's been a long time ago. And I think the interest rate at that time was, 12%. I mean, and I felt really thankful that it dropped a percentage or something, and so.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people, probably a large group of people that have either gotten used to or have seen nothing different than 3%, 4%, 5% rates. And so they're not used to it. But yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, and remember when Shauna was here and she talked about that date the rate thing? Right? Yeah.
What was that again?
Yeah. Marry the house, date the rate. Yeah. So that was awesome, you guys. That was great. But the point to that is that the interest rate on the house that you buy can fluctuate, and if you're worried about it being a little bit high, if it's a little bit high, buy the house if you can do it, and then when the rate changes, which it will. You can refinance a house.
Yeah.
Most of the time, your lenders will even give you a chance to refinance that house without really any closing costs, other than just changing the loan amount. So, so that's what she meant by dating the rate.
Right.
Don't hang on to it forever. Take it to the prom. And, So yeah, that's what she meant by that. But she talked about marrying the house. Right. So
you commit to the house.
Yeah.
You find the one you want and go for it.
So one of the things that happens as part of that theory there is that you might wind up in a house on average 6-7 years, right? So you kind of have this choice. You either buy the house or you don't buy the house.
Right.
Yeah. So you buy the house and the rate's a little bit too high, and you do it anyway.
Right.
So then you change the rate, but you're still going to be there in another 5-6 years. And assuming that I'm right and that the market's not going to crash.
Right.
Yeah. So you paid $200,000 for the house, say, right? Even if it drops by 10% over that 7-year period, somewhere in there in the next year or two, it will recover within that 7 years.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, over that 7-year period, you paid $1,000 a month for rent.
Right.
So you've paid $84,000 in rent.
Right.
So even if your house drops $20,000, you still made a wise choice.
Right. Because you're investing.
Yeah. And so the truth is, over a 7-year span, I would think at the very worst, you would break even.
Yeah.
It'd go down and it's going to come back up.
Yeah.
So you break even. And then when you compare it to the other options, it always looks great. And all of your interest is deductible.
Yeah.
So at least it is now. So yeah, it still makes sense. It's sometimes kind of hard to swallow that rate, but it still makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that, so kind of the theme is listening to people outside of your agent. And there's a process, there's a relationship that you've formed with that agent, they them and they're helping you make decisions that are in your best interest. And that's really important, because if you just generally across the board, the way news stories come together, and I know this because I've been in a newsroom when things were coming together, and all of these people are, well, what should we talk about today? What should we report it up today? Well, most of the time it's the most sensational thing that they're going to talk about. Interest rates are here compared to where, whatever it might be. It's always the worst case thing that they're going to report on.
Right. And you see the headline that says, will the market crash?
Yeah.
Well, you don't read the rest of it. You see that.
Yeah. Well, and so it's just, it's the sound, taking advice from a sound bite. It's not ever really a good thing in any realm, in any market, whether it be real estate or life or politics or whatever it might be, because those news agencies, they're trying to get eyeballs, and they do that by reporting the thing that's the most sensational. So,
true.
Yeah. True.
And for some reason, buying a house is one of those things where everyone wants to help you.
Yeah.
And they have your best interests at heart. But the truth is, pay attention to the professionals.
Yeah.
They're the ones that really know whether it's a good buy or a not good one. And they'll do the homework to make sure that they show you whether it is or it's not.
Yeah.
I spend a lot more time telling people, don't make an offer on that house. Let's look for something else. And I think everybody that's been in real estate, at least in our area for very long, is probably pretty good at that. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be in it.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't be doing it. But yeah, it's one of those listen to the professionals times in life. Yeah.
Well, Randy, thanks a ton for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Just want you to know, if you ever get overwhelmed in your office and you feel like you need to go, you can come down the street and we'll have a cup of coffee or something. And it can be kind of a respite here for, Tanya doesn't show up until about 5 or a little after. So
there you go.
This is kind of it can be kind of a guy zone. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I could come in and talk sports then.
You could. Absolutely.
I tell you what, Alma in my office will talk sports with me any day. And, she's a state champion cross country coach, and she knows her stuff.
Yeah. So, but you and Kyle were talking before. That's kind of one of your outlets, one of your things?
Yeah, I've always loved sports. So, yeah, I go to lots of local games. I tend not to be NBA watcher. Professional sports aren't near as fun to me as high school stuff.
Yeah.
No,
so
not even close.
I just love, I'll go watch kids in other areas and not know who any of them are, but it doesn't matter. I enjoy doing that. So that's one of my deals.
Yeah. Well, and I see REMAX. I see their logos in a lot of gymnasiums and what you're supporting. I know you guys do a lot for EOU, and all that really matters. It just, yeah.
We think it does. We think
100%.
that being involved in the community is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the community's what's given us a really decent way of life. And so anything that we can pour back into that, we feel obligated to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, good stuff. Well, thanks a bunch.
Yep.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll be right back.
You don't have a commercial going.
I know. All righty.
We're back.
Yep.
We're back.
So, well, hey, do you want to get us out here?
Let's do it. My on this day only goes to 1965 because nothing really important happened after then, apparently. On this day, what is it? I almost said November. February 21st, 1842. 1842. The first known sewing machine was patented in the U.S. by John Greenough of Washington, D.C. On 1858, on this day, Edwin T. Holmes installed the first electric burglar alarm in Boston, Massachusetts.
What year?
1858. It must have been just a little ding.
It must have
Right?
been, yeah.
Like a little electric ding.
Right. Yeah.
Right? 1878, on this day, the world's first telephone directory was issued to 50 subscribers in New Harbor, Connecticut.
Wow.
1887, on this day, Oregon becomes the first state in the country to make Labor Day a holiday. We were the first ones, Oregon.
Wow.
And then finally in 1965, on this day, we lost Malcolm X. He was shot by a Nation of Islam followers at Audubon Ballroom in New York City.
Huh.
On this day. In 1965. That's a long time ago.
It is.
58 years.
So interesting. I heard this last weekend, I heard the story of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. having a meeting together. They both had the same causes, but one of Martin Luther was out of peace, and I mean their styles of revolution were very, very different.
I don't know a lot about either of them.
Yeah. So, and anyhow, but the conclusion they came to is like, yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're doing it really differently, but both of us are going to die. That's what, and they did. Both of them were, yeah.
The number one movie in America on February 21st, 2003. Old School with Will Ferrell. Hank the Tank. The movie's so funny. It's so funny. He's a dad, and
I remember that one.
awesome.
What year was that again?
2003.
Wow.
Can you believe it's been 20 years?
No.
20 years. Quote of the day. There it is. Work hard in silence. Let success be your noise. Work hard in silence. Let success be your noise. Tonight, 7:30, up at Quinn, men's basketball versus OIT. First round of the Cascade Conference playoffs. And it should be a good game, and hopefully we win. We're the number 2 seed. Tomorrow, 5:30, women's basketball, number 1 seed. Quinn.
Good deal. So Tuesday, Matt Scarfo scheduled. Thursday,
Today's
excuse me.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Thursday, Matt Scarfo is scheduled to be with us right here in the studio.
We'll do plenty of harassing on that bootlegger.
Absolutely. He's always a live wire.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks, Eastern Oregon.
See you Thursday.